Welcome to the Live in Color podcast, where we explore healthy living with real food, real passion, and real cool people. I'm your host, Amber Benson, the co-founder of Ruby, where our mission is to crush nutritional deficiency with the planet's purest source of nutrition, fruits and vegetables. Welcome back. We have today Zoe Burns with us, who is a professional soccer player who plays as a defender for the Utah Royals of the National Women's Soccer League. Born in the United States, she represents and played for the Canada national team. Zoe was an accomplished soccer player from a young age. She also played for the USC Trojans women's soccer team, earning all region honors twice and all Pac-12 recognitions 3 times. At the 2024 National Women's Soccer League draft, Zoe was selected in the 3rd round by the Utah Royals. In March 2022, she was called up to the Canada Women's National Senior Team. And before being called up to the Canada Senior Team, she played for Canada's U20 team in the CONCACAF Women's Championship. And you scored the first goal as a penalty kick, which qualified you for the 2022 FIFA U20 Women's World Cup, which is so cool. Was that like one of the highlights of your life?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. It was incredible. The team was like so excited, and it was incredible. It was amazing. I can't even describe it.
To do the penalty kick.
Yeah,
just so awesome too. I mean, that's recognition.
I love taking penalties. I don't know what it is. I love it. I think it's so fun. I don't know why you wouldn't like it. I mean, you have like I don't know the percentage exactly, but I think it's like an 80% chance of going in. Like, you're like right there. Like, poor keepers, honestly. The keepers that are good at it, like, amazing work, because that's hard for them. I love it. So, and I've been doing it like my whole life. I have like a little routine that I like to do, certain amount of steps back, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I was very honored that they let me take that one. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm so glad to have you here. And I should mention, not only are you a professional soccer player, but you are a singer. And I just started that. Did you? Yes, it's so good. So tell us where to find your music and just a little bit about your music.
Okay. So my family is kind of like split. So like my dad is more like the athlete, and then my mom is like theater dorky kind of. So I've gotten both sides for sure. So I was doing like musicals. I was doing choir when I was younger. And that kind of went up until maybe like high school. And then soccer kind of took over because of opportunities that I was getting in that space. And so that kind of, took a little break. But now it's back, and I always kind of wanted to pursue that. And recently I had the means to do so. So I did. And now the first song is called Falling. It came out a few weeks ago. You can find it on any streaming platform. Apple, Spotify, whatever you want. Good. Yeah, and thank you. And then the next one, it's a little bit slower, and that's going to come out in October.
That's so great. So are you writing as well, or singing, performing?
Writing the lyrics. So like I've had some help with the the track, like the musical part of it. That's a lot of my producers and his team has been helping me with that part of it. But in terms of lyrics and singing, like doing that.
Well, I was really blown away. It sounds like you've been singing your whole life, which sounds like you had someone when you were young, but you've been soccering your whole life. So
yes,
for you to just come in and sing like that was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. And I feel like that has been something that's, I try to live my life as like authentically as possible. And I think in order to do that, I do need to be able to explore both.
Well, I love also that you're getting balance because, let's talk about soccer.
Yeah, okay.
So you're a professional soccer player. Tell us about your journey into that. Like, what was it like growing up in a way that you could land on a professional soccer team?
I kind of did it on accident, I would say. So when I was young, I definitely, it was absolutely my dream. I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but when I was young, so when you're like 5th grade-ish, you do like this yearbook where it's like, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I put 2 things. I put professional soccer player and singer, right? And they were like, cool, so you're shooting really low. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Really low expectations. So,
heard it all.
No, I was like, no, it's cool. I'll just do both. Like, it's fine. And then kind of like, and that's when you're like 10. So it's like, it's easy to have really big dreams when you're 10. And then as you kind of get older, there's a lot of, at the time, so like now we have the NWSL, which is like a really strong league. It's like, it's competitive.
National Women's Soccer League.
National Women's Soccer League. Yeah, the NWSL. And which I'm so thankful for the women that have come before me and like fought for that, because when I was younger, I had so many people telling me like, you're not going to make money off it. Like, yeah, it's a cute dream. You probably can do it, maybe, whatever. And even if you do, have fun being broke. And I was like, what? Right? So then that was like starting to kind of like hit when I was like maybe 11, 12-ish. Like it was pretty young. Like that dream got squandered kind of quickly, unfortunately. But they were like, don't worry, you can go to college for it. And I was like, what do you mean? And so then my neighbor ended up going to college for soccer, and she was like, yeah, and then you don't have to pay for it. And I was like, what? That's sick. Let's do that. Yeah. Perfect. Two in one. Then I get a college degree. That sounds amazing. So that became my new goal, right? And so I started working for that, so I would like, I was like training before school. I was doing, there was I was
teams as yourself?
No, by myself. And then I would do extra trainings with the boys teams. There was like 5 of us that would train with the guys. And so we'd go straight after like our training, right? And so like, I was probably a little bit over the top, but I was like, I'm doing this, like this is happening. And so eventually I got like some looks, and one of them was at USC, and he saw me at a showcase with a tournament or something. I don't know. And then I did a visit there. And then at that point you committed really young. They didn't change the rules until very recently. I'm glad they changed the rules, because I don't know who was like, it's a good idea to like make life decisions at 14.
Yeah.
But I was out here like, this is cool. Like I'm in California, the buildings are pretty. And that was like, they won the Natty. Sounds great. I'm going there. There was like, and no one stopped me, like that was all that was needed in that decision making. But yeah, so then I was committed to USC my freshman year in high school. So then, which was really nice, because then I could just kind of like breathe. Yeah. Because that was the goal, like that originally, right? That was it. And I was like, oh, okay, I've done it. Amazing, whatever. And right around the same time was like the first time I was going to like youth national team stuff, but with the US. So what I didn't find out till like years later was there's like this database, I guess, with like all of the players in the country. And they have your nationality on there. And for some reason, you don't fill it out. Mm-hmm. And the person that did my profile only put the US. So Canada didn't know I existed at this time. They were like, no idea, right? Because I was living in the US and I was in the US program.
And explain, your parents are Canadian.
Both my parents are Canadian, but I was born in the US, so I have dual citizenship. And then I was raised in the US, so like...
So you should be on the radar.
I should be for both, but that wasn't happening at the time, right? So then, but I was going in for the US, and it was fun, and we did some really cool things. And I actually met my now teammate, Ali Setner. I met her during one of those camps. So I've actually known Ali for like close to 10 years. Yeah. Obviously like not seeing her consistently in that, but like we've known each other for a very long time. So now to be here with her is so fun and like random, and she's such a talented player, and it's so fun in person, and great person. So to have her here is also really cool. So like life is, the way that my life goes is really like that. Like I'm going to give you a hint of something that's going to happen years from now, and you're going to be like, what? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. No, I love it.
It's going to be great. So around that same time, actually, is when I met Amy Rodriguez, which I didn't know until recently. And I like found a picture of us, and I was like, wait, what? Because I went on a visit for USC. So like you would go and meet like your future teammates. And she used to go there, and she randomly was there. And they were like, oh, look, she's here. And so that's the first time we met. And she ended up drafting me like 6 years later. And coaching me like 4 years later. So it's like weird, like how that works, right? Yeah. So like, and then I met Ali before, and now Ali's here again. So it's crazy. So then I was doing the national team stuff for the US for a while. Then I did my knee. So I tore my ACL when I was 17.
Playing.
Oh yeah. I mean, the girl didn't touch me. I just was defending, and it went, just disappeared. And I had just taken my first like sports med class, and I knew what it was. So I knew what it was immediately. Yeah. And I was crying, and they're carrying me off, and I'm like, it was my friend's dad, actually. He was one of the doctors, and he picked me up, and I'm like freaking out, like, John, it didn't hurt. So like one of the things is like usually it's not painful and it's a pop, so I knew immediately, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, like I know what it is. Like I'm crying. And so then I rehabbed my way back, and then right when I started playing, COVID happened. I was like, oh. So I hadn't played in a year, and now I definitely can't play now.
Shoot.
But it ended up working out because at the time, then basically I was just training on my own, and with my ex that I had at the time and my brother, again, like 1v1s, which like I've never defended in my life, guys. Like I was always a midfielder who was like the ball would go past me and I'd like pretend to defend. Like I was the worst. If I was like on my team and I was a defender, I'd be like, get back here, you know? But I'd be like, you guys got it. It's amazing. Good job. You're amazing. You can do this, you know? So then like I never done that in my life, and now I'm defending and doing all that stuff. So then I kind of got good at it, right? I mean, that's all you're doing for 6 months, you know? And so then I go into college and they needed a right back. So then I've been defending. So I'm like, yeah, sign me up, put me in, coach. And that's what happened. And then that led to national team stuff, but this time for Canada, because they were actually looking at my teammate because her dad was a hockey player. And then my coach was like, hey, by the way, we have 2 more, you know, because I had another teammate that was in a similar situation that they didn't know she's Canadian either. And then I got drafted 2 years later by Amy to the Utah Royals. And now I'm here. Oh my gosh. So
that's amazing.
So like short story long.
Short story long, and long to still come. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So now it's just the start of the beginning, hopefully. Yeah.
Start of the beginning. Playing for and so you had mentioned that there wasn't a league for a while. And so was it in college that they brought this league into existence?
No, like there were leagues here and there.
So not enough that could support.
Correct. So like there was a lot of, it was only really recently that they have, and I want to say like maybe 6 years, I say tentatively.
Yeah.
Because I was in college. I wasn't paying too much attention to the progress. You'd have to talk to some other people that, you know, were kind of in it and more like battling it. But yeah, this is like a new kind of success that we've seen in this league, in this country for women. So
women's sports.
For women's sports, yeah.
And soccer.
Yeah, women's soccer and women's, I mean, you see the basketball as well is is taking off. So I think it's a really exciting time for women's sports.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I believe the US leads the way in producing women athletes. Mm-hmm. It's so why aren't there the leagues? Right. And I love that they're exploding now and providing better opportunities for these young girls who are.
I know. And now it's amazing. No, it's amazing. Like, I mean, even like I grew up watching, so I was like in Seattle, right? So I grew up watching like Fishlock. And she was like this like tiny, she's still tiny. She didn't suddenly grow. Sorry, Fishlock, but we're small people, you know, if she ever sees this. But like I grew up watching her, and I was like, there was not that many short players, and she's tiny. I say tentatively maybe the same size or smaller than me, right? And but like the league was kind of in and out, but she was in Seattle the whole time, which is really cool. So I grew up watching her, and now I'm playing against her. So it's like, that's insane. Things like that, like that's insane. You know what I mean? Or like Sinclair, right? Like I grew up watching her, right? I think we all have. And then now like being her teammate and then being her opponent and all that stuff, like that's insane. So like stuff like that. And that happened despite all of these like changes in leagues, changes in just a lot of different circumstances, like not being stable in the last like 10, 15 years, right? But now like I can't even imagine like what that's going to be like for the young girls now watching and like watching that progress and like having that actually be something that's attainable, that they don't need to just imagine, like they can see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and your goal was college soccer, because that was kind of the high end at that point. But now girls can dream so much bigger.
Oh, so much bigger. And like you could dream bigger, but it was harder to see.
Yeah.
You know, college was easier to see. It was like right there.
Yeah.
And now there's like unimaginable like things that people have attained already. So I can't even imagine how it's going to grow.
Oh, I love it. So now that you're a professional sports, in professional sports, tell us what your day is like. Are you Okay, let's first start. Where is your season? How long is your season? And then tell us what a day in the life is like for you in the during the season.
Okay, so our season is pretty long. So it starts mid-January is when preseason starts. And then around March, depending on when, March-ish, is when our first league game starts.
Nice.
So you'll go from then all the way until like November for sure. And then you have like the playoffs start. So then after that, it's kind of like, I don't know. And then like the end of November is usually typically when the final is.
Okay. So not much of an off season.
You get, I think I want to say 6 weeks, maybe 7, maybe 8. I don't know, somewhere in there. I haven't experienced an off season yet, so we're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Very quickly, and then then I'll know how much it is. But right now, it's like just like rumors and trying to figure out what's going on.
I had no idea it was that long. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think the men are longer because they have more teams to deal with and stuff like that. I think they're a few weeks longer, which is insane. So
that's a lot of strain on your body, I would imagine. Tell me what it is. So you have game day, you have workout day, do you have rest days? Like what's your routine?
So we typically have, and like these will change. I think we're supposed to have a rest day, I believe every 10 days. But like obviously usually your body needs a little bit more than that. But they like will change like the intensity of training and like what you're doing based on, kind of like your body's like rhythms and just making sure that we're able to do what we need to do. So like you'll have like, and we keep track of like RPEs, right? So like your rate of perceived exertion, right? Mm-hmm. So after all the trainings, you'll say like how much you believe that was like out of 10, right? You're like, okay, so today is like yesterday, for example, was supposed to be a 2. But if all of us were like, no, that was like 5, then they're like, ooh, okay, maybe we taper off, maybe like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a lot about like communication and how your body's feeling, what they want out of it versus like how we're feeling. Maybe the game was super intense. Maybe we had, because now we have VAR and we have like another like exact, things. So now we're doing, instead of like 5 minutes of extra time, now we're doing like 12. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing that, you're playing like an extra 20 minutes overall at the end or something like that. So maybe we dealt with that over the weekend. So we were like dying a little bit more, maybe we made less subs. So it's like a lot of those things like change all the time. So we use like those type of things to either taper off or accelerate kind of like our training and what we're doing. Typically we'll get like a mid-week day off. So like today is my day off, right? Yeah. Right. So and then like after a game, typically the day after we'll have the day off. Mm-hmm. And then the following day, so 2 days after the game, we'll do like either a lighter training, and then the people had less minutes will do like a top up at the end. So either that's running or that's like doing a short-sided game if they have enough players and whatever. So it all depends, but it's trying to get everybody around the same like either minutes or just like our numbers are all very similar so that everyone's always ready to go. Even if you haven't been playing, you're still getting pushed, you're still doing those things so that you can be ready for a game. Because you can't just throw someone in there, after not doing anything for a couple of weeks. That sounds good. It sounds like, oh, now they're rested. But then now maybe they can't keep up because they haven't been doing what the others have been doing. You know what I mean?
The science of it is so fascinating. It's complicated. Yeah. And I appreciate that they figured that out for your bodies, because I feel like I have high school age kids. And so at that level, it's like you go as hard as you can every single day. You give it your all.
Totally.
And then I remember my son was getting ready for a football game and he was like, I can't even walk today. I was like, you did like a heavy leg day yesterday? He's like, they don't care, Mom. They'll have us do legs that morning before a game. Yeah. And then I can't even stand there. And I was like, whoa. Seems a little counterintuitive. So
I think like rest was like a very new concept to me. Kind of like late, I'd say, in my college years.
Yeah.
And then definitely in pro, it was like sometimes, and sometimes you have to like change that mindset. And I think that's what I struggled with the most in the beginning. And, veterans really helped me out with that, because when they would say like optional lift, like in my mind, optional is not optional. Optional is like you're doing it or you're lazy, right? And so, but they were like, how do you actually, like, I was like, I think I don't remember what I said, but I was like, man, like I really don't want to lift. And they were like, oh, are you like sore? I'm like, yeah, like I can't move. And so then I get up to go do the lift anyways. And they're like, well, maybe like, let's think about this. Let's like, is this actually what you need to be doing right now? Like be smart. The season, they always told me in the beginning, they were like, the season is 9 months long. This isn't college. Like you're not like muscling through it for 3 months, 4 months max. 5 if you're going to win the whole thing. This is 9 months. We need you for 9 months. Do you like, is this going to help you last 9 months? Right. And I was like, probably not. And they were like, then don't do it. And no one's going to think anything else. They're not going to think you're lazy. They're going to know that you're being smart. And I was like, are we sure this is not a test? Like, are we sure? Yeah. Right. And like after like multiple times of, like the older girls helping me out with that, I think I've got it down.
Yeah.
I still have like a little bit of like, like, is this like, but at least like you're actually considering it rather than just blindly like working, like, is this like, you have to change that. And I think that is like sometimes a little bit late. Like that's how I got hurt, was like, I wasn't, I wanted to get better, in high school. And like how I knew to get better was to run, to do fitness, to do those things. And like, those were the things that I was taught. And I pushed myself and I got hurt.
Yeah.
And, like that, those are the things that like that you have to think about is like, and I think about this like in life too, like that's how you get burnt out in life. Like you're working. When was the last time you took a little bit of a break?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. And then they burn out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, mentally, physically, it's always going to be like that. And so I think like from like a holistic approach, if you want to be a whole person, like those are really important.
So you feel like you started learning that toward the end of college or more once you got to pro?
I think I started more taking care of my body at the end of college. But like more in like recovery. So I was doing like recovery boots. I was actually getting treatment. I wasn't just like, oh, there's a knot there, it's fine. And then like moving on, you know what I mean? Or like making sure I'm sleeping enough and doing those things. Like I started to do that more towards the end of college, but like the most intentional I've been, I think, has been this year about like what I'm doing and why, and like, is this going to help my long-term goal?
When did nutrition start to become something you focused on and paid attention to? And did it matter? Does it matter?
Yeah, it totally matters. It definitely matters. I think I've had a few lessons in that because I didn't want it to matter. You know what I mean? I was like, it's fine. Like I took that approach for a long time where I was like, it's fine, And I think like you can do that. And I think like on some level you need to have that kind of attitude because you can't be super critical about it. That's also unhealthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I started to kind of think about it again, kind of like later in college. I had some people around me that were, really good about it, and they started to learn about it and talk about it. And, I wasn't super interested right away. But then I could kind of see them, they were recovering faster. They're, I could kind of see like we were making gains in the gym and they were doing it a little bit faster than me. And I was like, wait, maybe this might matter. You know what I mean? And so then I started to pay attention then, and then and I started to notice different, because we're all going to be very different in the way that we, kind of operate in our bodies. You know what I mean? So it's like, I started to notice like I still to this day, I have a really hard time eating in the morning when I wake up. And it's hard because we train in the morning. Mm-hmm. So you can't go into training without fuel, right? Because that's what food is. It's just fuel, right? And you can't drive your car without gas. Like, good luck, have fun.
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes, right? Like, it won't work and you'll feel awful. And I was dizzy, I was nauseous, and like it sucked and it doesn't work. And so like trying to find different ways that, like, understanding your body and how it might, react to certain things is also super important. So I think that in itself takes a long time. So working with nutritionists and kind of figure out like other people that have a hard time eating in the morning, like what do they do? And then, or like I would eat at a certain, and then timing is also important. Like I would eat and then I'd be hungry before practice again. And I was like, well, now I'm nauseous and dizzy again, you know, like, and I was like, but I ate. So it's like, it's hard. It's like trying to find those things and like when and why and how you're going to do it. And with your schedules, like
and what you eat
what you eat, it matters, you know, like time for me, like, you know, I just recently got my morning food schedule kind of down, you know, because I had the trouble of, you know, like it's really easy to eat fruit because it's easy for your body to break down and kind of absorb, but that's not going to sustain me because I've already broken it down, you know, and now like so it's 2 hours later. It's like, that's gone. Like the sugar is gone, but the sugar is easy for my stomach to handle in the morning. So it's like, it's got to be that. Plus it's got to be a little bit of protein from the yogurt, you know, and like the timing of it. And like when I'm putting that in my body is like really important for me. Yeah. And I'm only now discovering that and working with like people that know more than me and like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is, you know, this is my problem. And then them basically saying, this is what I would do. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is a little bit of a trial and error kind of thing, similar to like when you go to like a dermatologist and they're like, this is what works for other people, but we don't really know until you do it for a while. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what advice would you have for probably parents listening to this for their kids who are in sports and even kids who aren't in sports? Like, how do we figure those things out? Trial and error. But I think like for me too, like one of the biggest things that I've found that I didn't really know, I really couldn't wrap my head around until you still really start looking at it is like how much food you need. You need a lot of food for doing almost nothing, you know, like just living. You need to eat a lot. And it's hard when you're with athletes. And like you're like, if we're talking about like parents with kids that play sports, like you're busy. You're very busy. And so it's hard to find time to make sure that your kid is eating enough. I know that I wasn't. And I didn't know that I wasn't until like much later. And I didn't realize that you're not supposed to be dizzy when you play. You're not supposed to, you know, like, and then when you start fueling, the difference is incredible. It's an incredible difference. You can do so much more. And so you just like making sure that you're carving out time for your child to be eating enough. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're zipping from school to practice. Maybe they're doing another practice. Maybe they have this going on and this going on. I know that I was not, you know, like, especially when you're young, you're not thinking about that. You're just like, oh, next thing. And maybe like, oh yeah, I'm hungry, but it's fine. Like we have to be like carving that time out, or just being a little bit more proactive about that because it's a lot harder to get the amount of food that you need in than you think. And I think this is so great too, because I mean, even recently, like our nutritionist came in and gave us like my team a little talk and she was like, do you guys know how much fruits and vegetables like you need? And we were like, a lot. And she was like, yeah, but like how much? We were like, I don't know, like a couple of handfuls. And she showed us the plate and she was like, no, this is like actually like she brought in like a pile and she was like, you need this much. And it was like a mound. And we were like, when are we doing that? You know what I mean? Like it's hard. It's so hard. And you're like, and then you're like rude awakening, you need a bit more. And those things are really important too, because just of like the micronutrients that you get. And like no matter what you do, you can't supplement that nutrition. It's way better to get it in your food and from like actual resources. I love that. And the more I read about what fruits and vegetables do for athletes, and they do a lot of studies on athletes, it does help us recovery.
It does.
It helps your brain. Yeah. It helps your bone strength and health. It helps your muscle recover. I mean, there's so
much. I know.
That fruits and vegetables do.
I know. And that was like our biggest thing was like, we were, you know, a lot of us, our season is 9 months. Like it's hard to recover 100%. And like, arguably, I'm not sure we do, because how much we're pushing ourselves. But the things that we can do to help with that is making sure we're getting those nutrients. And, you know, we get very specific, and I don't have them off the top of my head, to be quite honest with you, but like it's very interesting to learn about like which fruits and vegetables do different things, you know, and like, okay, I'm feeling, and that's why I think like too, like having those conversations, like specifically, this is what I'm feeling. What can I put in my body to make me feel better, you know, and alleviate whatever that is that I'm feeling, you know, because that's what it is, you know. It's like food can be medicine if we really, you know, are intentional.
And we eat the right food.
And we eat the right food. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I love what you said about eating enough and carving the time out. So I mentioned that my 14-year-old son is playing American football.
Yes.
And he practices every day and he gets home from practice around 7:15 and maybe he had an after school snack. I don't know.
Right.
Because I'm not there. But last night he got his bowl of food and I didn't serve it up for him. He served it up himself. And he kind of yells into us, is anybody else eating? And I was like, and my daughter had already eaten. So I was like, no, you're it.
Take it all.
And he walked in with this bowl of food. I couldn't believe how big it was. And it was good food. It was chicken and it was pasta and it was garden tomatoes that we just picked and some basil and stuff. And both my husband and I looked at each other and looked at like that bowl and thought, how is he putting that food down? And he did easily, and he needs it.
He needs it. He absolutely needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so important. And like, you know, and getting that, like understanding how much, I was also surprised about how much like protein you need and like kind of when. Like they were just talking about how, like my nutritionist was talking about how important it is, like timing wise, right? Because like, again, timing is important, you know, like if you're taking collagen, like should be, she says it's before you train. Protein is after, you know, like those things are like, I'm just learning them now. Like I knew I needed them, but just like I didn't realize those little elements are important as well. Timing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the mental side and what you do. You have some days off, but how do you use the time you have to recuperate mentally? And I think this is a really important topic for all of us listening. Like you said, it's work. It's the time we spend with our kids and the busy but also our kids we see getting burned out. So I don't know. I feel like you guys have such busy lives and you notice it if you don't take care of your mental health.
Oh, yeah. I think mental health is something that I think we're just now starting to talk about, like in the last like 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And it's like in the same way that, you know, you're like, wow, like, you know, my ankle's bugging me. What can I do about it? It's like, I think it's easier to ignore, like mentally, you're like, or like emotionally, like, I'm not feeling great right now. And I think there's a lot of people that don't really know, either don't really recognize that, and they've just they're like going along with whatever it is and just not really addressing it, or they know it and they don't really know how to fix it. And I think that's been like the hardest thing. It's like, because they're all different. We're all different people. And it's like, how am I feeling right now? And how do I want to feel? And what can I do about it? And so I think the rest days are really like, a lot of us, you know, do like a check-in. How am I feeling right now? What do I need? And being really intentional about it. Because if you don't, it starts to run into the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing. And in the same way that you can't really, they say that you can't really catch up on sleep. It's the same thing. Like you're kind of like, you're trying to play catch up instead of, you know, every moment, like, what is it that I'm, you know, what do I need to address right now? And I think that's like the thing. My teammate in the beginning of the year, our captain, Paige Monham, she said this a lot. She was like, do something on the off days. She would say like, do something to like fill your cup, you know? So it's like that saying that's like, you can't like, I think it's, you can't fill up other people's cup before you fill your own or something like that, or whatever it is. And it was with that kind of concept of like, you need to be able to address what you need so that you can come in fully for this team the next day. Like you need to be able to take care of yourself so that we can take care of each other going into our games, going into our practices daily. You know what I mean? Because those energy things, especially when you're spending so much time together with other people, and we're so close all the time that like you like will feel that, you know, when we're not doing what we need to be doing. You'll feel it around in that space. So I think the more that we take care of ourselves, the more that we can take care of each other.
And it takes effort.
Yes, it does.
It was a busy weekend and it was like, oh, we have 2 hours. Should we go up to the lake? It's a lot of work. We got to pack the paddleboard And my husband and I, was just the two of us left at home. And I was like, let's just go. It's a bit of work, a drive. We got there. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we needed.
Yes. But sometimes that's the thing is like, is this, and I think like too, it's where is my energy going and where do I need it to go today? It just kind of depends, kind of what phase I'm in right now. And right now I'm just, taking a step back and, focusing kind of like on my like self-care and like, what does my apartment look like? Like those things. And I'll get into a different mode probably in a few weeks where I'm like, let's do things. And that will give me energy. So I think it's just like knowing yourself and really doing those check-ins that I think that we often ignore.
I love that. That's such good advice. And just assessing yourself, taking a moment and assessing what you need.
Yeah.
Okay. So last question. We always love to ask people, you are obviously a very vibrant person, and I love all the things that you've shared. It's been so fun. How do you find vibrancy or color or joy in your life?
I would say that's actually something that I learned about kind of like within the last couple of years. I think for a really long time, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing to be like a results-oriented person, but I think if you're always only happy when you're at the end of the journey, then I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And I think that's how I operated for a really long time was it doesn't matter how I'm feeling day to day because I know I'm going to get to whatever it is that I'm going to get to. But I think then when you don't get it or something goes wrong as it does, or like, and often like I think I'm trying to change the way that I'm viewing failure in general. But just like you're not going to like be happy. So I think like for me in the last few years, it's like day to day, how can I make myself the happiest I can be? So for me, it's like, is my outfit making me happy? Is the way that I have my apartment set up making me happy? Like enjoying the sunsets and the sunrises and all those like little things. My cup of tea.
In your car.
The music in my car. Yeah, I'm blasting the music in my car like whenever I can. And just like finding those like little moments. My friend, she calls them balloon moments, and I think that's really cute. Is like just making something like having a moment and just inflating it as much as you can to really get the most out of it. Because at the end of the day, those are things that are going to make you happy. And I think actually my Nana, going back to my Nana, the same Nana that had that makes the lasagna, she had this thing in her house talking about like, I think the quote was something like, if you don't enjoy the small moments in life, you won't enjoy the big ones. And so I think like that's what I try to do kind of day to day is like the small things. The small things are always going to make you the happiest.
Zoe Burns, you've been amazing.
Thank you
for everything you've shared. I've learned a lot. I know our listeners will have too. And where can people find you? Do you have social handles?
Yes.
Tell us where to find you.
It's Zoe, Zoe with another E, .Burns with another S, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the same things. And then music, any streaming platform. So that's where you can find me.
I'm a fan.
Thank you.